All right then. So this video is going to be for lessons 4 and 5, which is Thursday and Friday of this week. So I would suggest that you just take your time and you do a bit on Thursday and then a bit on Friday. Don't try and rush and take ages and ages doing it all on Thursday. So please take your time. And everything you're going to need, so the video and the extra sheet, if you need it, it's all going to be in the Thursday section. Nothing's going to be on the Friday section. So if you go down to Friday, you won't see anything there. So what we're going to do for these two lessons is the planning, because obviously we have to plan our ideas, ready to do the writing next week. So you've done your research for 2 days. You may find that over these next 2 days, you might have to do the odd extra bit of research. But this is why we're going to plan our ideas, because you might find then that you have a few gaps, and then you can always go back and then quickly find a little bit more to add to it potentially. So basically what we're going to do today is you're going to be grouping your ideas together into their categories and then begin writing them up into sentences. And this would be a good opportunity as well to write some sentences and put those bits of punctuation in that we've talked about in the past, but also for this week. So obviously Monday we did colons and semicolons. So the good thing about the planning is you can take your time and try and write sentences to fit those bits of punctuation in. Also think about other bits of punctuation as well. What I will do on our Home Learning Hub page is I have put a link to the writing tick list that you have in the front of your books in school normally. And some of you I know like to have a look at that to just remind yourself of things that you need to try and include. So that is going to be on there as well. What I'll probably do is on next Monday's lesson, I'll talk a bit more about that in detail then. I won't talk about it today. Don't want to bombard you with too much. So all I've sort of written on here is just sort of reiterating what you have to do. So you're grouping the ideas and noting them in the categories, trying to write them in the sentences, because if you can get your ideas planned quite well the next 2 days, it makes the writing up of the nice final piece a lot easier. And again, this doesn't need to be the final one, but it will really help them because you might see any gaps and where you need to go and add a bit more research. And what I've done, I've got an example here. I've also got a PDF version, which I'll open. So this is a possible example of how you might like to plan your writing out. All I would say is this is A4, which won't necessarily be big enough, particularly as your piece next week will be on 2 A4 pages, but you might find that you want to do it slightly differently. You might plan across 2 pages in your Home Learning Hub book. So I've just done it on an A4 for now. And what I've done is I've sectioned it all off. So a little introduction at the beginning, and then I've got paragraph 1, 2, and 3, which are the 3 issue paragraphs. So you can see here, so for my example, because obviously I will be doing it along the way with you to make sure that you see exactly what I want you to do. So I chose to do a deforestation, I'll zoom in a bit, paragraph, a paragraph all about pollution, and then a paragraph about plastic. And they're the 3 that I chose to do. You may well have different ones. That's absolutely fine. And then paragraph 4, 5, and 6 are the solution paragraphs. So I went with the 3 that I suggested earlier in the week: reusable items, renewable energy, and recycling, 3 R's. And then I have popped a little fun facts box down here. I know a lot of you love a little fun fact. And there'll be an opportunity to pop some of these down on your final piece next week. So if you have found out a couple of facts during your research days that you would like to try and include, but it doesn't fit with your paragraphs, then they can go in a little fun fact section. So you can see here, I've started only briefly, I've started putting some notes in. And what I've tried to do is I've tried to start writing them in sentences just to help me out when I get going. So obviously, what would really make sense at the beginning of each of your paragraphs is to sort of say what exactly it is that you're about to start talking about. You may well have headings, but some of you might not have headings. So if I just talk about these three first, so you can see my third paragraph, I'll work backwards. And my third paragraph is all about plastic, and I've just started off I've used a fact to start off with. So every day, 8 million pieces of plastic enter the ocean. And then I would continue writing a few more notes to do with that. Why is it so devastating? What is the impact of all this plastic entering the ocean? So obviously I would have gone on and started talking about like the animals and how it's affecting them. And obviously then it starts going into like fishing and the water and all sorts. But then also just plastic in general. So there's definitely some facts in those videos from earlier in the week about how long it takes for plastic to decompose. So some of those facts are very interesting to put in here. Pollution. There are many different types of pollution, which include air, water, and noise. Just done a little comma and a little list here. This paragraph, if I was to continue, I'd probably go on and start talking about cars and vehicles and things like that. And then deforestation. So deforestation means the cutting down of trees. So I've just started by defining what that word means. And then I will continue on, again, talking about the impact for the animals, for their habitat, the how, for example, like all the trees being cut down. Think about what's the benefit of trees? And if trees are being cut down, what's happening to all of that? Okay, so again, I've just started these off, just a sentence in each one. And then over here, the introduction. So introductions, they're horrible, they are, because they're often the hardest thing to write in a piece of writing. So I've started an example. It's by no means perfect. You might decide to use this and tweak it a little bit, which is absolutely fine. If anything, I would encourage that. So this is the beginning of my introduction. I probably wouldn't necessarily write too much else after this, really. You want to keep it short and snappy and to the point. So my introduction says, the earth has all the things we need to live. We must look after it. Humans affect the environment in positive and negative ways. There are lots of small things that we can all do to help protect the earth. It is up to us to care for the environment and educate ourselves on how to do that. And that leads in nicely, especially this bit here, the positive and negative ways. And again, there are lots of small things that we can all do to help. That leads on to, here are my issues. Here are my solutions, though. So your job for the next 2 days, plan your paragraphs out. What are you going to say in each? And remember, a paragraph, so this, for example, that is not a paragraph. That's just me starting off my example. Your paragraphs need to have several sentences in them, not just one sentence. Okay? So, plan your paragraphs. Use this format if you wish, whatever works for you in your book. You might want to do it in paper. So you might, depending how far you're through your book, maybe pull a couple of pages out in the middle, or if you've got some other paper lying around at home or another notebook, maybe plan on some separate pages, because then it'll make your life easier when you come to copy it up in your book next week, potentially. So next 2 days, planning your ideas, ready to start writing it up next week.